If the National is Cooperstown, then Fanatics Fest is All-Star Weekend. They are both legendary. Legend, wait for it. Joke is not old. We're still using it. Dairy. And I want to talk about the differences and what you can expect at each. If you've never been, they got a couple announcements that just came out with Fanatics Fest. And so I want to throw some stuff at you, my personal thoughts and experiences. And I'd love to know yours in the comments. If you get a chance, if you're on YouTube or the Spotify's, I got comments there now. So throw that in there. And if you don't have any, let's just listen and hang and talk more cards than anyone in your life ever wants to hear. Because that's what we're here for, people. We are here to talk quadrilaterals when your wife is like, please stop for the love of all things. Oh, we will not stop. We will talk to each other through this medium we call audio or video if you're on the YouTubes. Hit him with the intro, Tyler. Too long of an intro. I'm so sorry. Hit him with that intro. Okay, so the reason I wanted to talk this is because they just released the dates for Fanatics Fest. If you haven't heard yet, for 2026 in New York City, it'll be July 16th through the 19th. July 16th through the 19th. So we're looking middle of July, if you will. About 12 days before Harry Potter's birthday, if you will, if that's how you keep track of the summers. Let's see, the first Fanatics Fest, so they've done two. The first Fanatics Fest, which was 2024, they had it, if I believe, around mid-August. Okay, so it was about 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks after the National. The National is always end of July. Maybe you might grab a day or two at the beginning of August. And they had it a couple weeks after. And then this year, the 2025, the year of our Lord AD, if you will, Anno Domini, they had it like a little over a month before the National. So we had it mid-June-ish, and then, end of August, we had the National. And so there was a little bit of space there. I thought that was a great timing. I did go to Fanatics Fest this past year, 2025. I had planned on going to the National, bought a ticket and everything, and then my boss was like, we have this student conference, and he needed me to MC, and I tried to get out of it, but he was like, no, I want you to MC. I was like, that's how bosses work. And so I ended up going to that. I didn't get to go to the National, so first time since I really got into it. I've been to 2 Nationals. This would have been my third. Haven't. So the score at home, if you're keeping score at home, Tarver's been to Tarver. I don't call myself by my last name. That's weird. I've been to 2 Nationals, 1 Fanatics Fest. And this year, the big thing that I was going to make a whole episode on, but I was like, I just don't feel like it's enough for one ep, is they announced that the FIBA World Cup, which is a soccer, big deal with soccer, it is happening the same weekend in the same city as Fanatics Fest. And I heard Jesse and Mike, Sports Cards Nonsense podcast, by far the best sports card podcast in existence. And I say that as someone who has a sports card podcast and is very biased towards his own stuff. And I'm still not as good as them. I'm not even better than Hobby Handbook, which check out as well. I did a guest collab on, a guest collab, that's not what they call it. I was a guest on Clever Keeping Cards. Alex, I was on his Hobby Handbook podcast. Very good. If you want to check that out, go for it. They were roasting me in the comments, which I deserved. I'm so sorry. I say like too much. I know now that I've said that, you'll notice if you haven't already, I'm trying to cut down on it, trying to cut down on the likes whenever I'm doing filler words. And so no, I'm just kidding. So whenever we're looking at that weekend, what that's going to do is I did a little bit of quick research. Whenever the World Cup is in your area, you can look at the very minimum, every hotel is going to be about 13 to 15% more expensive. In a lot of cases, you'll see it about 50% more expensive. Like it'll go up almost double. And so what that's going to do, what you're going to face is you're going to face higher costs. It's going to be more crowded in the city. Traffic, like if you can, yes, you can like stay somewhere outside of the city and maybe save some money, but getting into the city is going to be a big deal, I think, especially if you're driving. Y'all know New York's not known for its drivable city anyways. And so you're going to need to get close to trains, get close to something where there's a type of transport that you can get there on that's not going to be too crazy or stuck. We stayed at a hotel whenever we went to Fanatics Fest, and I was like a mile away, and I walked like almost every day. It was super chill. I think I only rode one time because it was raining, and I got an Uber. But super chill. And if you can stay close enough to do it, that's great. You might go ahead, if you know you're going to go for sure, I would go ahead and book your stuff now because it's only going to get worse and worse as we get closer. So plan ahead. That's my advice to you on that. Now, let's say you're looking at, should I go to Fanatics Fest or should I go to the National? And I kind of wanted to spend most of this episode just talking about my thoughts and the differences. And again, if you're on YouTube, I'd love to know your thoughts. If you're on Spotify, they have comments there too. But these are my thoughts on it. Fanatics Fest is like the Coachella of sports. Coachella sport. I want to say Coachella of sports cars. It is the Coachella of sports. And again, I heard Mike and Jesse say that around 20% of the space in there was for sports cars. I'd say that was probably accurate. I would guess somewhere in between. I mean, I think 20 to 25% is safe on what they reserved for vendors. It's about $3,000 to get a table. I almost got a table. I wish I had. I just honestly, I didn't know if I even had enough inventory to sell to make $3,000 back in one table space. Because, most of what I buy is like 90% PC. And so I didn't have a ton of things that I could toss in for sale and be like, oh, cool, I'm going to make my money back. But I know a lot of people did. They did really well. A lot of the vendors did because you're not competing with near as many vendors as you are at the National. Now, the National, I'd say, is 95% tables selling cards. Now, they do have like the Breakers Pavilion where there's a lot of breakers in there, and I really still don't even understand what happens in there. I think they just go live, and so they're selling online, but at an in-person card shop or card thing. So preferably didn't have that, but they do. I would love to set up at the National. That would be sick. And I think that when you go to those two, you're going for two very different reasons. And like, for instance, I took my oldest son, Titus. He doesn't collect cards. He's got a couple like presidential ones, but he does not collect cards. And I took him to the National a couple years ago, the first one I ever went to. And it was during his birthday weekend. And we went and we hung out. And we went there. And again, we hung out in Chicago a little bit, but then we went to the show. And Titus is like super chill. He's like my most low maintenance kid. And he just hung around, walked with me. He was reading a book on math, and he was just sat on my card case, my Zion case, and we walked around. I looked at cards, and that's pretty much what you do there. Like I did connect with a couple of vendors. Like I talked to SGC, I talked to a couple other people that I'd communicated with online. Ran into a couple creators, met them in person, people that I liked. I just want to tell good job. I love what you're doing. But for the most part, I'm just looking at cards the whole time because that's what the National is. The National is your traditional card show. You go for the cardboard. I think people have said before, like, if it's a card and it exists, it's for sale at the National. And I'll be honest, it is phenomenal. I went with two quests I was working on. One, I'm still working on to finish the other. Trying to finish out the 1996 EX credential set. By the way, I'm going to show this in every video ever. Kobe Bryant, EX credentials, my boy. Kiss the Kobe. That was weird. I worked on that set. I had 80 of them. I think I had about 20 left when I went. I ended up walking away with, I think, around 12 to 15. Some duplicates, but some straight up. And I knew the market, so I was going in and I was buying as many credentials as possible. And there were tons. And to put that in perspective, most card shows I go to, I might see one credentials. At Fanatics Fest, I saw one credentials. I think that was it Kentucky that had it? I think so. They're super kind, but they had a Sean Bradley. Only credentials saw the whole Fanatics Fest. I think I ended up buying, bought like 12 to 15. Saw two Kobe ones, a Jordan one. And again, I didn't have the money then to buy them, but they have them. Every card you want is at the National. So if you're chasing quests, go to the National because every card that you could want is there. Now, granted, some of the prices are going to be a little steep. People are going to ask a little more. They've got a lot of, the booth or the table fees there are not cheap. I want to say somebody told me they were like $3,000 to $5,000 for table fees there. That might be off. I want to say it was around, let's say $3,000, give or take $1,000. Correct me if I'm wrong, if you know or you've heard. But really hard to get a table, and it's pretty steep. There's especially, and I'm not trying to be rude, but a lot of and again, it's not all of them, but I would say a high percentage of like the more traditional vendors are not as fluid with their comps. They know what they want for the card, and they're not willing to like get closer. Now, I'm not saying, look, you got to sell for me 80% of their comps. I'll walk up and go, I will pay you $50 over comps, the last comp for this card. Will you sell it? And they're like, no, I need 300 over. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so I went in with that. Now, here's the cool thing about it. Yes, the dealers, the tables, a lot of them have that inventory that you're looking for if you're trying to complete a set or look for a certain card. But I was also working on my top 75 NBA on-card autos. And I think I had like 10 or 15 left. I ended up snagging like half of them at this thing. And here's the deal. I didn't find a James Harden on card auto or Reggie Miller when it was less than like $300 or $400. And I want to spend $300-$400 on a Reggie Miller on card auto. He's not one of my favorites. I want to keep most of those on card autos around $100 or less. And I didn't find any at the show. And I went to literally one day I said, I'm going to every table in this main room. And I did. And it took me the entire day, start to finish. I saw my buddy Jeff at the end. I was like, Jeff, we did it. And he's like, I don't care, bro. I just made like more money in one day than you did in like a year on sports cards. I'm like, Jeff, you're just better at this than me. Jeff does vintage and he's awesome. And so I afterwards though, I went to a trade night, which if you guys have ever been to a trade night, they are straight buckets. I'm serious. Go to a trade night. And I ended up picking up the Reggie Miller and James Harden on card autos. And I got them for I think I got the Harden for like $60 and the Reggie for like maybe $100. I got a great deal on it. Trade nights, you're going to walk around and see stuff. You're like, this is insane. I was walking around one night and it was the trade night at the National was full and the line was out around the corner. Like it was so long, I couldn't get in, but people just like put their cards on the floor. I'm walking by a group on the floor, not even in the trade show. They're in the trade area. And I'm walking by this kid, these young, it looks like they was like 15, 16 years old, 17 years old. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I can't help myself. And I'm sitting there, he had like 7 or 8 cards on the ground. And I'm looking at him and I'm sitting here going, oh my God, it's like a bread box Jackie and like a Hank Aaron. I'm like, I said, dude, you've got about $60,000 worth of cards right here. He goes, yeah, nobody respects vintage. I'm like, this kid had $60,000 to $70,000 worth of cards sitting on the ground, just chilling. And I'm like, this is absolutely insane. The biggest card I bought at my first National was on the floor from a dude from London who was set up on the ground next to the line going into trade night. And it was a $700 Michael Jordan Topps Finest Refractor. And I was like, yeah, I want that sucker. It was like a PSA 7. And I was super hyped to get it. And so whenever you go to the National, you're going to see all kinds of cards. If you're in it for a card or a quest or a set, you go to the National. Now, if you want to go for the experience, I highly recommend you go to Fanatics Fest. I took my sons to Fanatics Fest this past year. It was by far their favorite. Even my youngest son, Finnick, he likes cards. It was his favorite by far because there's so many activations and there's so many companies in that space that are there. And it's not in the same way as at the National. At the National, you've got Topps booth, SGC booth, PSA booth. Like you've got all these setups. Like Whatnot's got a cool setup usually. Like they all have their little setups. But it's like when you go to it, it's like, oh, cool. The Whatnot one, you might, get to take a photo and they put it on a card. Or you go to the PSA one and you can just get your cards graded for like a phenomenal fee. And it's like they have it, but it's not like anything that's more than what you would do at a regular, like if they were set up at Dallas or something. When you go to Fanatics Fest, you've got, not only do you have all the people I just named, but then you've got, which Topps is owned by Fanatics. So their stuff is like giveaways and competition. They had Scott Rogalski from HQ Trivia there. Super nice guy, by the way. He's set up doing giveaways. Like that line was out and around the corner. But then they've got all these things where you can go in and you can try to kick and make a soccer goal, or you can try to hit a hockey puck into a washer dryer, or you can go in and throw a football or do a walkout like you're in WWE. And you can my kids and I literally the first full day and then most of the second day, I did not look at any cards. As someone who absolutely is obsessed with cards, I didn't even look at them because my kids wanted to do all those different activations, those competitions. It was like the fair, but like you don't have to get a tetanus shot after you leave. Like it was so cool. And all these are ran by these different companies. I have it here. You can't see it. This is an audio medium. If you're looking at this right here, if you can see that, that is a Lego card that I got made of myself. My kids did the same thing. That was the Nike Lego activation. That wasn't even the main Nike activation. They call activation is like the setup that they have. And they went into this huge, it looked like a Nike shoebox, but you walk in and you could shoot and hoop, but you can also make your own Lego card for free. And like almost all the activations were free and you could actually win prizes. They set it up like they wanted it to be an experience. And here's where I want to give kudos to that Fanatics team, that leadership team there. They understand the power of show, don't tell. Show, don't tell. It's something my buddies and I have talked about for years when we do events or, we speak or do conferences. There's a couple ways to promote your event. What most people do is they say, hey, come to our event. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. And then they try to pull you there. Come to our event. That's telling. If you want your event to be successful, and if it's a multi-year event, you show them. You have that event and you blow people's socks off. You make it such an event that people will talk about it for you. Jay-Z was always like, I'm the greatest rapper alive. And I'm like, if you were the greatest rapper alive, Mr. Jay-Z, Mr. Z, you wouldn't have to tell people that. Other people would be saying it. If you have a dope event, people are going to post about it. They're going to talk. I'm literally making a podcast months later where I want to tell you how dope Fanatics Fest was. They're paying me $0 bills, y'all. And I'm like, and by the way, Fanatics, you want to sponsor this thing? I'm very affordable. Holla at your boy. I need that money to go and buy more Jordan Poole cards. Fanatics Fest is an event that people want to share about. They make it so social media, not social media driven, but there's so many stories you can tell. I'm still posting videos from stuff I captured there. I'm posting, Draymond Green walked down my aisle. I'm wearing a Jordan Poole jersey, and I'm just like, filmed him walking by, flipped it around to myself. I was like, nah, bro, he don't want that smoke. You know what I'm saying? Like, they had so many opportunities. You turn around, Kevin Durant, his head is like literally a foot taller than everyone, so he's hard to hide. Wemby's walking by, Kevin Durant's walking by. You've got Tom Brady throwing footballs. Like, you can go like speed walking by. My youngest son was that kid, got Sketch, the streamer. He walked by, like literally walked by, and he had a couple security with him, but there wasn't a lot of people. And my son was like, I was like, he wanted to go say hi to him, get a photo. And I was like, go, dude. And he was like, he got kind of nervous, so he ended up not. He backed out. But he saw Joey Chestnut, the dude that eats all the hot dogs. We were at the Gary V booth. I'm there just to say hi. Thanks, Gary V, for the content, for the marketing advice. And my son sees, he's like, that's Joey Chestnut. I was like, dope, you want a photo? He said, sure. He walks up, got a photo with Joey Chestnut. Like, you're not, yes, you'll see those people, but it's not, it's like one, like 50th of what shows up with regards to like people that you might want to be like a photo op with, or like, hey, I love your game, or I love your content. Like, I say content, both content creators go to both, but like when it comes to seeing that and making those stories, those experiences, like my kid, he's not going to remember going to a card show unless he sees a card he bought there. But you know what he is going to remember? Walking and dapping up Joey Chestnut. You know what I mean? Like, that's something he's going to remember. He's going to have a photo the rest of his life. That is something that is a memory maker. They make that where, and again, it's like, they're so, I'm not kidding. Like, I've been a part of several conferences, and I just think they do such a phenomenal job of making moments that stick. And we all know, like, the way that we as like the human race share those moments, they share those stories. Now it is through social media. Yeah, if you got a big budget, you can make a movie, or you can write a blog or do a Substack, but like, the way we tell, most of us tell stories through social media, and they make so many moments, not only where they're capturing and putting out that social media, but where they open up the opportunity for the people, the fans, Fanatics Fest, get it? Fanatics. I don't know if that's just click for me. They are making it to where it's something people want to see, and they're like, I have to go next year. So again, if you want to go, do it. I would book a room now because World Cup's the same time. And I want to point this out, and we noticed this. I don't know if you probably didn't see this, but I posted one of the videos. My sons and I were walking around, and this young lady, she looked like, be a teenager. She walked up and asked to interview my oldest son, Titus. And I was, she's there. She was with her mom, and she just interviewed him real quick for a video. And I was just like, hey, what are you guys here for? And she was like, oh, I'm a YouTuber, and Nike asked me to be here to make a video, or to make like a couple short videos. And so nobody paid me to go to Fanatics Fest, but I do, my main thing is like social media stuff with education. And I've had companies that have reached out, and they're like hosting a conference, and they'll invite creators from different spaces. Like, I'm the education guy. They've got marketing people, and they've got personal finance people, and they got skits, and then they've got like cooks, and they got wedding people, and they'll invite all these people in to their event. And then they'll, pay them, like, you work out a fee, and they're like, hey, we'll pay you this much money to come in and make 2 short videos, and we can boost them for the next, 30 to 60 days or whatever. And then they pay us, and we go in and we do it. And that is what not only Fanatics did. Fanatics did that with paying, like, these athletes and celebrities. Like, I'm sure they had something worked in their contract, but they got paid to come to this event. Podcasters got paid to come and record podcasts at this event. I noticed with that young lady that came up, I was like, hey, what are you doing? What are you here asking questions for? Is this for something? She goes, yeah, Nike paid me to come here and make short videos to post on my channel. She had 5 million subscribers on YouTube. She was not into sports. She was not into cards. She didn't even really talk about Nike on her channel. Nike like just one company within this conference, this sports festival that wasn't even the main like people putting it on, they paid a person to come in outside of that space to share awareness, which honestly, like most companies need to do, because if you're paying all this money, like tens of thousands of dollars, maybe even more, hundreds if you include like salaries and stuff, they're paying all this money to set up and activation, all that. Yes, at the most, what the National has like 100,000 people come in. Fanatics Fest probably was close to that. You can have 100,000 people see your stuff in person. But if you're not sharing what you're doing, and that goes from everywhere from Nike to me as a creator going to this event to Fanatics themselves, if you're not sharing it out there and making it an experience and showing what you've done and what you've put into this and making it like people feel like, I wish I would have been there. I missed out because I wasn't there. I won't let that happen again. They make it from the top to the bottom. Every company I saw there, they were doing phenomenal at sharing that out there. Whenever people are going in and they're collaborating with these companies, they're putting it out there and they're sharing it with their audience. And like I said, I go in with education, but all these other people pop in. I went and did an event for Google, and it was just like it was in New York, and it was like they rented out this floor and they brought in like people to speak. Like Mark Cuban was there and he talked. It wasn't a lot of, there was like maybe 200 people there. So a lot of them were Google people. But a lot of them were also creators from these different niches that they brought in to talk about it. And I see where Fanatics Fest is doing that to reach all these audiences. They're reaching it with these companies. And then I don't know if they have it in their contract with the company where they have to bring in social media people or marketers or whoever, influencers, creators, whatever you want to call it, to bring them in, which would be genius if they did put that in that contract. But they bring them in and it just spider webs it out. And again, it's like a 20 to 25% card show, but the cards are there and they spread them out. You had to walk by cards to get there. It is putting the word out for it. And content creators for cards, they're there. They're at the National and they're Fanatics Fest. And here's the thing, like, now I had this suggestion on, I think a podcast I did right after Fanatics Fest. I wish they did more overlaps like Ryan, Card Collector 2. He does great. He does a lot of great stuff. Really good videos, great content. He's very popular in the space, but he's, sports card focused. All right. Now, he was there and I saw like he was like 2 tables over when Wimby was doing something. Somebody was doing like a deal with a table. And I'm like, why is Ryan not standing there educating Wimby on the card he's buying? Why is Ryan not a part of it? Because you've got the Wimby audience, which may or may not collect cards, but then you got the Ryan audience who definitely collects cards. And now you're overlapping them and you're essentially, it's like you're handing over Wimby fans, Fanatics fans, all those fans that are watching because it's Wimby, you're handing over those fans directly to say, hey, if you like this or this is interesting to you, here's a guy named Ryan who makes dope content that you go follow. And then you're now getting them into cards. And then a year later, when they go to Fanatics Fest, they're not only looking for Wimby, they're looking for Ryan. Like, I am a very, very small creator. And I go to these events and I have people like that are like, hey, I've watched the videos. I love what you're doing. Thank you. Say really kind and encouraging things. And I get the chance to talk to them and interact. I can't imagine what it is for people like Ryan or Kyle, King of Cards, like these people that are like have massive audiences. And it's like, if we can figure out, or say we, I don't work for Fanatics. If Fanatics can figure out how to, one, bring in these influencer creators, like make it to where these companies like Nike or Dick's Sporting Goods or, whoever is coming in and setting up, have them, F1 was there, have them come in and them get their own creators and then overlap with these card creators. Yo, you could see, I think people would dive into the sports card side of it even more. Because that's what Fanatics wants. Like, they want people to get in who love sports because that's the easiest clients they got, with regards to getting into cards. And then find them and hand them off to a creator who can, like, be somebody they follow naturally with social throughout the year. Yo, you could see something. I think you would see a real jump in there. But I'm sorry, I digress. I think Fanatics Fest is perfect if you want to go and create memories and have experiences and have a variety of things and be able to, oh, there's John Cena, but then you also go buy a Kobe auto like I did. Where is it? My Kobe auto. Thank you, John, basketball card guy. I'm just going to keep showing you cards on a podcast. That's not how that's supposed to be done. But I got that at Fanatics Fest. Like, I got, where is it? Big Man on Court, Kobe. Got that as well. Like, I got these cards at this show, but I probably spent the last day because my family had already flown back. So I spent all the last day doing card stuff. I did I did the basketball shootout once, all card stuff after that. Just straight gas. And I'm sorry, I can't stop saying that. And so I'm sitting there. I did cards most of the last day, but those first 2 days, I'd say I looked at card stuff less than 7% of the time. And then that was just because my kids were like, hey, we want to go do this and we're going to wait in line. And I'm like, okay, cool. And they were waiting in line and the Rizzler walks in front of them. And I'm like, Finnick, how did you not go up there and start like doing the Riz? That kid, Finn does the Riz face like 12 times a day. How did you not do that and go take a photo? But it's like they got nervous and I would have like asked for them, but I was over and I didn't get over there in time. But Riz, we're coming for you next year. But I think that if you want, this is how I'm going to boil it down. If you are trying to complete a set or you're on a quest or you want a certain type of card, you got to go to the National. It has every card you would ever want under the sun. If you want to go and you want to have photos and videos of things that your friends might actually listen to, you talk about or watch, even if they're not into cards. Like I said, we'll talk about cards all day and we don't get bored with it. But then you ever talk to like your friend about it and they're like being nice, like, oh, neat. And they're like, they'd still like, that's crazy. You spent $1,000 on that? Why? You know what I mean? Like they don't get it. But when you go to Fanatics Fest, you're going to create memories for yourself, your family, your friends that anybody would want to hear. And not that's why we would go. So they're like, oh, I need my friend's approval. No, but it's like you're creating those memories that like, whereas when I go to the National, what I'm going to remember is like, probably most of the moments are like, hey, I've got this card that I got at the National and I've got that to show for it. Whereas if you go to Fanatics Fest, you're going to have a video of you being like, yo, what's up, Draymond? You don't want this? Jordan Poole for life. You know what I mean? Like you have something else out of it. So that's the thing. If I had to pick, you're like, Tyler, which one would you pick to go to? If you had to choose between them, you can only go to one. I'm going to go to Fanatics Fest. Like it was such a dope event and my kids will want to go too. And that's probably the biggest difference for me is that my kids want to go because honestly, if I want to buy cards, there's not the biggest selection, but I get a lot better deal at like local regional shows. And if I go to Dallas, there's a ton of cards there. If I need to look at inventory, but I'm serious. The National has everything. You got to go to the National if you've never been, just because it's such a cool experience. Just have a really clear budget. I think I did a national tips for the National show and I didn't even get to go, but I don't know. In the comments, let me know what you think. If you've ever been to Fanatics Fest and or the National, which would you go if you could only go to one? And if you haven't been, which one would you like to go to this upcoming year? Thank you guys so much for listening. Y'all be good. Stay sweet. Never stop collecting. Sports cards are dope. So are you, my guy or gal. Later.